Well, hello, KingdomPreneurs. How are you today? We are on day 16. We're getting there. Our 30 days of pulling energy to create the space you desire for your future. I want to continue on from where we left off yesterday. By the way, I'm Satella DeVeaux. I am a KingdomPreneur. I am a munificent kingdom capitalist financer. That's who I am. And I work with spiritual entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, and seekers, and spiritual persons who are trying to tap into their soul scroll mission, their purpose and reason and rhyme for why that they're here. And what I want to talk to you today about on day 16 of our 30 days of pulling energy is, now that you've tapped into your big vision, now that you understand who you as a leader in building and bringing that energy to your enterprise and being that munificent kingdom capitalist financer. And again, a munificent is simply a generous, bountiful, open-handed, liberal, benevolent, philanthropic, magnanimous individual who has come to a conscious understanding and revelation of doing business from a absolutely kingdom dimension. Kingdom dimension. And as I said in the earlier video in Luke chapter 12 and 32, we find the statement that the Creator Himself, the Father of us all, says that it is His pleasure to give us the kingdom, to give us the kingdom. And what is the kingdom of the Creator? It is the rule, the realm, the reign, and the royalty. That is, He says, in your soul scroll mission, I've given you rule, realm, reign, and royalty over a particular area. And since we're in the domain and we're talking about business and enterprise, this is what we're focusing on here. And we're pulling that energy into it. So now that you know that when you create this enterprise, when you bring the energy of that vision that you had, that you've tapped into, you being you've found your authentic self, you've unlocked your scroll soul mission and the divine contract you made with the Creator. Now, how do you build the team? We began to touch on it yesterday of building that team. Because the truth of the matter is, energetically, and I'm going to prove it to you, you know that you could be thinking about somebody and they either show up, walk in the room, or give you a phone call. And in my country, we have an expression that when that happens, we say something along the lines of this: that you're gonna live until you bend, and mean until you get very, very, very old. You know, sometimes very old people kind of are bent over, and it's just an expression, a colloquialism, to say that I was just thinking about you. And as I was thinking about you, here you come walking into my environment or calling me on the phone. I've even had it happen sometimes where I'm thinking about somebody and I pick up the phone to call them and they're on the line. And just the last week, someone said to me the same expression, you're going to live till you bend, because I just looked at my phone and I picked it up with the intention of calling you. And, you know, that's phenomenal. But that's the kind of energy that we operate in every day. You operate in that energy when you walk into a room and it's thick with the energetic or the energeticness of the conversation that was taking place. You can tell those people were just talking about you or discussing you in some form because you can feel it. We say that you could cut the tension in the air with a knife. Well, you know, do you see air? So what area, but you can feel it. So you can feel the energy that you bring to a business. And you, as the munificent kingdompreneur who's creating this enterprise and creating this enterprise from the perspective of the empowerment of every single person that's employed with you, that is a customer or a client with you. But that's going a step further because we'll touch on that, your relationship with your customers and your soul-made customers and clients. We'll talk about that and how to pull the energy for that. Today, we want to talk about, very quickly, pulling the energy, pulling that energy and being the energy that is building that team that's going to be a reflection of the ethos of that consciousness of congruency in your business, that you are creating this enterprise to more than do good. You're creating it to be transformational and transmutational. And you build your team because your team is going to now bring an energetic fit into that atmosphere, into that environment. You know, there's some places when you walk in there, you just love going in there. That's because that environment has an atmosphere and the people who work there. I used to work many years ago in a perfume store. And we had some of the best customers who came from around the world. They were wealthy. And I'm going to date myself by talking about Joy 1000 and Shane Patu and OPM perfume and Oscar de la Renta back in the day and Cartier. But you had the kind of people who would come in and they weren't buying the eau de cologne or the eau de parfum. They were buying the perfume itself, the parfum. And you would have them come in there and they would be spending, but what I'm saying is they enjoyed coming in. They came repeatedly because we had the casinos, you know, they came, they had great food, they gambled, and then they shopped. And they would come in and you built such an ambiance and such a relationship with those people that if they came in and you weren't there, they would ask for you if they didn't see you. And then they would say, okay, well, I'll get it when I come back next month, because these people were coming back. These were very wealthy people. And so I'm talking to you, but this is a kind of mindset that one must have as well, because it's the mindset that has been untethered, it's been released, unshackled from limitations into infinite possibilities, infinite capacities, and operating from that space. They may not have used those terminologies back then, but that is what they were operating in, because they came in, they saw a phenomenal relationship working with the team that was on that counter and that was selling. And then it came that they knew us so well that they said, you know, they came in, they didn't see Satella, but I do want to do some business today, but I want it to be to her credit. And the team was so good and so positive that the team would conduct the business on your behalf and process the sale in your name. That is capturing, in a nutshell, that kind of energy that was operating in that environment. We not only worked together, we played together, we hung out together. And not every situation is going to be like that from that perspective. But what I'm saying here is that you are desirous to build a team that's going to impact lives, that's going to impact first. And when you're building this enterprise, let me slow down a bit because I'm really excited here. When you're building on this level, you see how I have to bring the energy down? When you're building on this level, you are building a team for the long haul. And when I say the long haul, not that you intend to have people with you forever, because a part of the energy that you bring to this enterprise is that you want to release people and empower people into their own capacities, into their own infinite possibilities of creation, of enterprises and establishments, not only in the local community, but on a global scale. That's the kind of energetic level you're building. That's the kind of energetic team. So that's the kind of people that carry those kind of energetic capacities that you're bringing. Because if you're bringing somebody on board who, I used to work with someone who happened to have been my supervisor at the time, who could not make a decision. She would not make a decision unless she got an advisement from her office that, was above her. And it used to ever so frustrate me, because I'm thinking, you have the authority, you have the power, but you're not walking in it, you're not utilizing it. And because she would not release herself to operate in the powers and authorities, and maybe not the words I want to use, but certainly she had the responsibility to carry out and to act in a certain way that she refused to operate and act in. And because she was operating, listen to what I'm talking about. You're building a team and you're talking about the energy you bring to the team. Because you as the leader, your energy is going to affect the whole operation. And what she did is she brought a spirit of fear. She brought a spirit of limitation. She brought a spirit of undecision, or an energy of not being able to make a decision. And henceforth, she had a lot of people who would not enact things. She did not flourish the creative capacity in the people. She had close to 100 people working for her. I was over 3 offices that had 27 people. And I would go into those offices and I would sit with those people and I would say, okay, you live in this community. Because I was working in urban renewal. You live in this community. What are the capacities of this community? What is it that is needed in this community? Let's look at what we see that's needed. Let's put our awareness in play. And I took my team and I allowed them to become creative in that environment and put different things on and create different capacities for the elderly, for the young, put on some seminars for would-be entrepreneurs, how to write a business plan, all of that kind of stuff, letting them step into that space. But I was always fighting, because you don't want to be the chief frustrator and preneur as you're creating this. You want to give people latitude. You want to be so crystal clear on one level, excuse me, of what the vision, the big vision and the strategy for the enterprise is. And you also, as you give them that practical, pragmatic skill, you want to give another practical, pragmatic skill, which is the empowerment to let the team or the persons creating, making up that team be able to flow, to operate. I find it frustrating when I come into an enterprise and someone is called a manager, but they don't have authority to make a decision. They don't have authority to say, okay, this is an important sale. I don't want that sale to walk out the door. So I'm going to give you an extra 5%, 10%. You have to know the numbers of your bottom line. Just because you're working energetically, but this is a part of working energetically, is that your awareness is so attuned, your awareness is so astute, that you've already been a forethinker and you've empowered people already to act and to make certain decisions. And you're not coming in and stifling the person or stifling the creativity. That's one. I remember I used to work with someone who did not believe in that. She would always say, you're not a part of the management team. And one time we had an issue. We were selling a $2,000 piece of Baccarat crystal. The cruise ships were in. Here was a couple. They had been here before, and they said when they come again, they were going to make some big purchases. This is what they were sharing with us. Here they were ready to purchase over a $2,000 one crystal piece. $2,000. They were willing to purchase. And there was a problem with the machine to run the credit card. It had happened before and they had not fixed it. Management had not fixed it. Of course, the supervisor came in, she fixed it, talked with the people, everything was great. But she was out and it happened again. And when it came for me, actually, I had stepped into the situation and I had fixed the problem. I was hauled into the back and told, I'm not a part of management. Don't tinker with the machines on that level. And this was for a much smaller item that was being purchased. About 4 or 5 weeks went by when this other couple came in, wanted to buy this $2,000 piece of Baccarat crystal. Supervisor is out to lunch. You have the shop is crowded. People want to make sales, and now there's a problem with the register. And the salesperson turns to me and says, "You can fix it. Would you fix it?" And I go, "Oh, not me. I'm not a part of management." Because what that the supervisor had done, she had stifled my capacity when there was a problem 5 weeks earlier, and I stepped into that problem to be a solution and to be a team player because I wasn't a part of management and she hadn't authorized me to do it. I was chastised and told not to. So both stores are crowded. She now is made aware that there's a problem over here, but she is completely, you know, tied up in the first store dealing with customers. They're getting frustrated. They're getting ready to walk out. Other customers are walking out because it's taking too long. And finally she comes over, deals with the situation. When everything settles down and everybody mostly has gone back to the ship, she calls me into the back and says, you know, that was a $2,000 sale that you almost allowed to walk out of the store. Me being my young self at the time and very impetulant, said to her, whoa, whoa, wait a minute, you're confusing me. Because 5 weeks ago, you told me not to do that because I'm not a part of management. And now today, because it was a $2,000 sale, you wanted me to act as if I was a part of management. I'm confused. You know, and I use that as an example. When you stifle people like that who are like me, who are creative, and who can think intuitively and who can say, hey, you know, if you just do this here and do that there, it's going to fix that issue, close the sale and make some more sales. Instead, you cut me off. You cut off the flow of me operating in the enterprise that way. When you're building a team, you have to empower people, and because you empower people, it doesn't take away from you being the leader, as it were. And I want to really get away from those terms as well, as the leader and such, because in this paradigm, it's not so much about I'm the leader and you're the follower, or I'm the leader and you're the employee. No, it's about really truly building a team. And yes, we know that there must be order to the team so there would not be uneventful or unproductive chaos. But instead there becomes this harmony of chaos, if I could call it that, where we allow people to step into their capacities to be creative, to step into and function in a different capacity on a different level, even though you might be assigned over here and another person is assigned over there. But this is a part of what cross-training was about. But we're taking it to a whole nother dimension where we're saying we're empowering people to be a contribution on every level that they can, when they can, and we encourage it and we reward it. At the same time, when you're building your team, you're always going to have that person or persons who will come into your environment and see that kind of flow, that kind of ease and flow that can happen when you're building a team, because you're willing to show people what you require, what the energy of the environment is going to require, how I expect you to step into that environment and be creative. And if you see something and you see where it can be improved, feel free to bring that to the forefront. And then you, as the person at the head of that chain, be willing to step back and reward people for their contributions. You create an atmosphere where my parents and my grandparents used to say, you will have people who will work and operate in your enterprise as if it were their own. And that you cannot pay for that. You cannot pay for that type of level of capacity that that kind of person will bring into. Um, I know businesses, again, where I say when certain people are not there, people turn out the door. I'll come back when this particular person is here. If you have that kind of person that's operating in your enterprise, you ought to look at that person. Number one, you ought to reward that person. And you ought to do it in such a way not to make other persons in the enterprise feel less than or unworthy, but use it as a way to encourage people. But from the offset, when you create this kind of enterprise, you are drawing to you, because before you start hiring, you're going to do the energy pulls to bring in the kind of people that are the right fit for the energy you want to bring to the business. And sometimes the energy of the enterprise itself is going to let you know when you have to make certain shifts and changes. You know, somebody may come in at one capacity level and then they begin to work and you see them to begin to flourish and expand, and you're able to put them into another area, or you're able to take them and create something completely different and then put somebody else in that area. The other thing I want to talk to you about is always giving people the opportunity to be able to be transmutable or malleable so that they can shift to other positions. Instead of, you know, somebody may come in and they start with you and they're working out good, and then they begin to go downhill. Well, maybe you need to find out, okay, what's causing this different in energy? You came in, you were very high energy. And when I say high energy, you're not looking for somebody who's like hyped up on caffeine. I'm talking about an internal clock, an internal knowing that causes you to function from a place of self goodness and graciousness that that causes somebody blowing at me. I'm sitting on my porch, and that causes people to create from their own self capacities to always give their best. And you must reward those persons, and you must always use those persons. And when I say use, highlight those persons might be a better word, as an example to others. But you're also going to get in your enterprise negative people who may become negative for some reason. And they might become negative because they've actually outgrown the area that they're functioning in. And you, as the leader of this ship, must be able to notice and to watch the energy levels of your people and know when to make a shift with them. And then you're going to have negative people simply from the perspective that they're going to come in with hidden agendas, and they're going to want to learn everything about your enterprise, sow seeds of discord, and then, you know, try to go off and do their own thing. That's fine, let them go. But if they want to remain in the company, you cannot allow them to be a constant form of negativity. I can go back to an example again. One of the offices that I supervised, we had a very, listen to me, an extreme case of negativity in a particular person that was the supervisor of that office. And the people in that office were afraid of her. They were afraid to tell you, you know, you would come to the office and you would have a weekly meeting, and nobody would want to say anything. And the minute if you removed her out of the situation, everybody would start to talk. And then the minute she came back in, everybody would shut down again. And I would constantly say to my supervisor, you cannot allow this to continue. Again, because they're not self-empowered, they operate from a place of intimidation. And they operate from a place of intimidation because they have a lot of, that person who's operating in that level of negativity more than likely has low self-esteem, more than likely knows that they're in a position that they're not qualified for, but they're only in a position because of nepotism or some kind of connectivity to a person in power, and they have that position, and so they try to control and hold on to the position from a place of dominance and control, as opposed to working with people from a space of empowerment. So when I say to you, when you're building your team and you're looking at the capacities that you're building your team with, you have to set a platform. One of the things I did as a supervisor for the 3 offices that I was over, I always said to my people, listen to me. You can tell me anything, and if you want to say anything to me about anybody, that door is always open. But when you come through that door, you better be telling the truth. You better be honest about it, because I am going to call the other person in to give an account for their own behavior and as a defense to themselves. It did 2 things. It caused people who were passive aggressive, sneaky little people, to not approach you. So it you cut that energy off from operating in your space, because you let them know, if you accuse somebody of something, if you come in with something about someone, you better be able to back it up. You better be able to stand in your space and give an account for what you're saying. Having done that, I created a capacity that in the offices that I operated, if my supervisor, my boss, wanted to implement something, unfortunately for her, the people that, my teams, would always ask her, what did Satella say? What did Satella say? Does Satella agree with this? Does Satella, know about this? There were 2 problems to that. On one hand, I had forged a relationship with those people that they trusted and respected me. And that's the kind of energy I was putting out with them. It also, on the other hand, created a problem for me and my supervisor, because she was always in a state of competition. As you can tell, my time there was not a very good time, but it was also a time that was productive for me. And it was also a learning process for me, because there were things that I needed to learn about, yes, having that good working relationship with your team, but also giving respect to the people who are above you, because the roles will always be reversed at some point, and you have to learn to work in those energies. But when you're building a great team, you're looking for people that wants to be in the environment, not because they want a job and a paycheck or trading dollars for hours, but you want to bring people, and you're going to pull people energetically to your business. And what I want you to do is, I want you to go through your enterprise and look at your operation and what it is. Look at who your target audience are supposed to be. Look at your soulmate customers and clients. And we're going to go into that a lot tomorrow, of who they're supposed to be. And then look at that from the perspective of building your team. Who are the kind of people energetically that is going to be a fit? I didn't ask you to draw a conclusion. I just asked you to step into that space And I just ask you to now pull the energy of the right soul mate clients and customers to come together to be a part of your enterprise. And we're going to leave it there today. If you found this video to be helpful in any way, please like and subscribe to it. My YouTube channel is KingdomPreneur, Alchemy of Entrepreneurship and Wealth. The Facebook page is of the same name, KingdomPreneur, Alchemy of Entrepreneurship and Wealth Facebook group. And I love you again, Kingdompreneurs. I'm truly enjoying these times. If you have not considered, I certainly hope that you will be joining us on the 12th of May for another 30 days where we're going to go into a lot more depth. We're going to be having some calls and some Zooms and so forth where it'll be more of us in a group situation interacting. Please check out my website at Satella DeVeaux, SatellaDeVeaux.com. And I'm going to see you and talk with you tomorrow, where we're going to talk about pulling the energy now for your soulmate clients and customers. Thank you very much. I love you. See you tomorrow.